for the student and for the parent, frankly, who hears what's happened and says, okay, fair enough, socialism, communism, this sort of state control in the name of equality hasn't worked out in practice, but it's great in theory. What's your response to that?
Well, it's not great in theory. I think a lot of even conservatives and classical liberals make that mistake of saying, "Oh, it's great in theory, but not in practice." No, it's not great in theory.
Why?
We are not all equal in result. Like, I don't want us all to be equal. I don't want the government to decide where I'm going to work, where I'm going to study. I don't think that the government, even in an ideal state, works better than we do in the practical way. I don't think that people should be equalized. Chávez and Maduro and his ministers used to say that people should make the same amount of money regardless of their work. I don't think that that's okay, but that's what really essentially socialism is to each according to his need and his ability. And I don't think that's the case. I don't think that if you work harder, you should be rewarded the same as somebody who works less hard than you. Does that mean that some people are naturally better at some things? Yes. I'm not a good singer. And I am not a, big athlete that runs and will be an Olympic medalist, right?
That's always the best example to me, is that ethos is entirely suspended the second people turn on their favorite sports team. No matter where you are in the world, you root for the best. Every kid, if you play, everybody gets a trophy. Every kid knows who did and didn't deserve the trophy. It doesn't work. It doesn't get bought as a thing.
Well, but we're all naturally different, and the government can't fix that. Some people are born without parents. Some people are born with physical defects. Some people are born incredibly smart in one thing and incredibly dumb in another. And that's just the cards that were dealt. And there is no way the government can fix that. Because first, the government can't observe it. And second, it might actually make it worse in practice. So I'm of the philosophy where I want everybody to be as prosperous as possible. And the question is how to get there. And I tend to always lie on the solutions that are actually, people are better getting there with the government getting out of their way. And there's a lot of barriers that the government's imposed that just makes people poorer. And that's the case in Venezuela, but it's also the case in the United States. And when people say socialism could work here in theory, where do we have socialism in the US? We have government healthcare for the veterans, and we have government mail, USPS. These are the worst places that people have. How is USPS relative to FedEx? How is the VA healthcare relative to privately run hospitals? I think, the results show for themselves in a country that you don't say politicians here are drug dealers like in Venezuela, right? It's not like they have bad intentions, you could say. Well, who knows? But they're certainly not like Venezuela.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Why is it still worse?
Faint praise.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you know something I
don't. One of the things that's, I think, interesting here in the States that most people don't understand or have any exposure to is that the Native American reservations have been living in this very weird regime that's a lot more socialistic than most of American society and have really been decimated by it. Massive government spending in the name of essentially a kind of reparations.
It's the opposite. It's like punishment what the U.S. government does to the Indians.
Well, and it was really interesting I think something like 75% of Native Americans voted for Donald Trump. So
I just wish they could just privatize the reservations, give them their land. If you live in a house in an Indian reservations, this is your property title. Divide up the land and let them do whatever they want. They should be like any other person in the country.
I mean, in some ways, there's an opportunity there to create like a radical free cities type of situation, right? Where it's like, look, we're not bound by the U.S. Congress in the same way. We can be like mini Singapores. You can end up with the highest GDP in the world.
All right. You're selling the idea. I like that. That's an interesting idea.
When you look at, so you've got these dissidents like yourself going into these high schools. What are the kinds of things you've heard and what are the kinds of stories you've heard from dissidents and refugees from these disasters coming in contact with kids who this is the first time they're hearing this, because we don't teach anything of any value in our average education system anymore. I think we have the worst of all worlds when it comes to education systems. So what happens? What do you hear?
It's really impressive because we have some really exceptional stories, like our North Korean dissident Grace Jo. North Korea is clearly, to me, the most oppressive place on the earth, and perhaps in world history. I don't know because of what they're going through. And she tried to escape North Korea 3 times. She succeeded at the 3rd after being deported twice from China. With her mother and her sister. The rest of her family died or was killed. Starvation, government prisons, all of that. And she was rescued by a Korean-American Christian pastor who dedicated his life to living in northern China, rescuing North Koreans and teaching them to learn English with the Bible. Wow. Really incredible. He's still alive. He lives in the U.S. now. And Grace is so grateful to be in America, of course, but also the stories that she teaches are so strong that kids are all left totally shocked. And they come out of their talk just grateful to be American and live in America. After one of my talks, I've had kids come up to me, and there are now kids from Venezuela in the audience, right? Because there's so many Venezuelans in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I've had like a girl come to me and say that her aunt died because there was no medicine, and they cry. And, that they've been through a lot. And so many kids are so happy. Like they'll tell me like stories about their family. Like a kid tells me, "Oh, my brother serves in the army. We're so proud to serve our country." And these are the kinds of things that we want kids in this country to feel, right? So they come with 2 things. One, they learn about the rest of the world. They learn about the political systems and the economic systems, and then they also are inspired. Because these dissidents that we send to their schools have inspiring stories. We have another one who escaped Eritrea. Eritrea is also dubbed the North Korea of Africa.
Okay.
It's in the Horn of Africa next to Ethiopia and Sudan. It's illegal to leave. Everybody's conscripted to the military. Everything's government-owned. And he said, I didn't know what choice was until I came to America. And he's incredibly successful. I met him at a PhD student conference. So imagine what he's doing now. So these are the things that I think, it's also part of why I think immigration is so important, because it's not just about the economics, even though that's what I study, but it's also about this civic and social aspect. Americans get exposed to things that I think keep America free with immigrants from totalitarian countries, right? Think about the Cubans, about the Venezuelans, about the North Koreans, the Russians, the people from the former Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. They are the people who are most supportive of freedom.
If you like this clip, you should check out the full video and all the other great content we've got at Dad Saves America. So be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss our new stuff as it drops each week.